Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the TRS Scorpion. This is a very cool knife. You'll see in just a moment what's unique about this blade. We are pretty excited about this product. So, we're not the first ones to do this. There's a couple of brands that make a knife similar to this with a bend in the blade. And not really a bend, but almost a 45-degree difference between the handle and the blade itself. And we'll talk about kind of what makes that useful here in a second. But before we do that, we'll take a look at the sheath. So the sheath is adjustable. Kind of this is more on the lines of like a deep concealment type of rig. So it's adjustable. The clip is installed if you were going to wear it outside the waistband for a right-handed user. That's how the clip is installed. If you wanted to put it inside the waistband on the right-hand side, you would swap the clip to the other side, and then of course it would be on the inside with a clip on the outside. What we've also done is we've also put in an additional hole so that the clip is oriented straight up and down right now. This can be rotated. What that does is it gives the whole thing a little bit of a cant, which makes it much more comfortable to carry in this position. So it kind of goes along with the crease and where the torso meets the leg. So let's say you're moving from a standing position to a seating position, you're driving your car or whatever, you don't have to readjust it. It sits right in kind of the V of the crotch very nicely. It's not jabbing your thigh or anything. So very cool that we've got that adjustability built into the sheath. Another thing about the sheath, the lock is very tight. There's very little even rattle. You shake this thing around really hard. It's almost hard to get it to even rattle at all. And it's never coming out. But we've got this nice spot here where your thumb can push on it and it comes right out. So of course, if this is anchored with a clip on your belt, it's gonna pull out because you've got tension there. But it's actually even easier when you go to draw this thing, if you get your thumb right here, that you're pulling and you're pushing, and it just releases really nicely that way. That's also good in case you draw this and it does come off of your belt. So you could be in a situation where you jerk this out really quick, and in a situation where you're trying to save your life and it comes out with a sheath on it. It's kind of a problem. The good thing is, once again, it's off, right? So just kind of a fail-safe way for you to do that. If they didn't have this portion right here, was more stripped down, you'd actually have to use your other hand. So this is one-handed, so you could be holding somebody off and still get the sheath off of the knife. So that's kind of the sheath. It's molded nylon, very durable, very tough. It's glass reinforced nylon, just the same material as the handle. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the blade itself. So what makes this such a effective self-defense tool is the fact that it's much more natural. Let's say if you're in a fight or some kind of confrontation, there's a natural instinct for you to ball up your fists, and also it is unnatural to use a knife where you have to roll your hand over. It's already in a weak position. It's not natural. And there could be situations where, you know, you have adrenaline pumping, you're in fear for your life, you have your fists made, and if you've seen street fights, you know, most people are just swinging wildly like this because it's a natural instinct. People are not used to doing this. It's a natural instinct. This may happen to you even if you feel like you've trained and you have some martial arts background. When you have a complete adrenaline dump, you know, there's a good chance that you, just like everybody else, is going to be swinging wildly. The advantage of a cant in the blade like this is that even if this is in your hand and you're swinging wildly, the blade is now forward, so you're actually able to engage an attacker with the weapon, unlike if it was straight up and down where you have a knife, but because of the adrenaline, you're not actually using the weapon, you're just using your fists and maybe occasionally grazing them with the knife blade. So it's a more intuitive way to have the blade shaped. And quite honestly, I'm not sure why more knives aren't designed this way. Once you have this in your hands, you're gonna realize it just feels right, even for utility tasks. So we designed this primarily as a self-defense weapon, but actually I like it for utility a lot better than a lot of the other knives that I have, because once again, you're not cranking your wrist over. If you're opening a lot of boxes or just, you know, doing some chore where you're doing some repetitive thing with a knife, you're constantly cranking your wrist over. You can do it, obviously, people have done it for a long, long time, but as soon as you get this in your hands and you start using it, it's like, wow, that's so much more comfortable. You even see, if you go to hardware stores, a lot of utility knife and box cutters have started, the companies that make them have started making a model where the end of it is tilted because it's just an ergonomics thing. It's just more comfortable. So that's a little bit about the curve. The other thing, so aside from just comfort and kind of an ergonomics thing, there's a safety component here. If you're carrying a knife that doesn't have a full-size finger guard, so let's say it's like a K-bar style knife, it's a fighting knife, it has a full-size finger guard, your hand is protected, very unlikely that your hand is gonna slip down onto the blade. Anything outside of a full-size field knife, it's very difficult to get a huge finger guard, which means that if you have to use your knife, it might not even be in a self-defense situation. It could just be, you know, some vigorous cutting that you're doing, that you could slip down on the blade and cut yourself. And the reason is, especially if you're doing a stabbing motion, you're trying to pierce something. And the reason is the force is going, not, if this knife can't really show it, but imagine this was a knife, the force is going straight this way, right? So the natural thing, if something slips, is that your hand goes down on it. The difference with this knife, if you're piercing, the pressure is actually backwards into your palm. So it's not perfect, it's not like a perfect, it's not a push knife because it's not a perfect 90-degree angle, but it's very close to it. So, and we did some demos with this, things that I would never even think about doing with a conventional knife for risk of slipping down and, you know, partially severing one of my fingers. But we did those demonstrations just to show how aggressively, basically punching full force into really hard objects to prove just how well the force is absorbed into your palm instead of sliding down through your hand. So a huge increase in the safety factor that kind of corresponds with the fact that you don't have to crank your wrist over. So just overall, very ergonomic. So the blade itself is just over 3 inches long. It's compact because it's meant to be sort of a deep concealment knife. But that's plenty of blade surface. It's got a not quite a true American Tonto blade profile because we've angled the top down. We kind of call this like a spear point Tonto. Very durable. If you look at the blade, the width, how far it stays full width until right here, and the width of this is actually over 3 millimeters thick. So very thick for a knife of this length. The spine is very thick and it stays full length way out to here. So the chance of this cracking or breaking off is very slim. So it's a very durable blade design. Yeah, and we've gone with a plain edge on this so that it's very easy to resharpen. So yeah, just wanted to give you guys kind of a look at this. We've had some questions about it. What's the deal with this? A lot of people think it looks interesting and unique, but don't quite understand the purpose that's built into this. And again, it's not just a self-defense knife. I gotta say, I mean, I've carried this a lot, and of course, you know, I haven't gotten into a knife fight with it, but I have used it a lot just for utility. So if you're thinking when you see a knife like this, yeah, that's great, except I'm not in law enforcement. What are the chances of me actually, if I'm gonna carry a knife, I want something that's useful for utility and self-defense, and thinking that this isn't that knife, when in fact, I guarantee you, if you start doing utility tasks with this, you're gonna wonder why people have been making knives that are straight for the past, you know, 5,000 years. So it's really an incredible improvement in ergonomics. The last thing I'll say, the handle is molded over. It is a full tang knife. You can't see the tang, you can't remove the handle, but the tang does extend all the way through the handle. It's very durable, super rugged, and this is GRN nylon. We beat the hell out of this thing. The handle is super tough. Yeah, so if you're interested, there's a link in the description below where you can find this for sale. And if you have this knife, let us know what you think about it. If you're thinking about it and you have some questions, let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching.